Hi, my name is Jacob. I am the late attendant to the class, and I'm going to try and one-shot this course review, course reflection, without any editing or retakes. So, fingers crossed this goes well. How did the term go for you? What went well? What could have gone better? I think it went okay. I did not do a whole lot of participating. There was kind of a lot going on in my life, and while I usually hate to make excuses, that one was a pretty big one, and I lent on it quite heavily when I probably shouldn't have. I think that the writing that I produced was very good. It was all about things I care quite deeply about, and so I was really able to put in a lot of my essence and a lot of my own feelings and thoughts into things rather than just kind of writing about the works of Shakespeare or, Death in Venice or whatever it may be. I was able to really put things I have my own personal knowledge about. And I think that that was really a strong point for me. A lot of the assignments, actually, including the final assignment, I literally just started writing, and like the persuasive one that we do in front of the teachers, like or the board of education. That one I one shot it. I just started writing and I came out with this final product. Because it was very important to me, and it's something that I live with every day. And so I think that the writing itself was probably the strongest point. But what I think could have gone better was about everything else. My lack of interaction with the other students, my lack of being able to do things on time really hurt me. Leaving things to the last minute, even though I did project very early on in the course that I really, really don't like that. It's always been the best philosophy to do things now, and why wait when we only have the time that we have? But unfortunately, did not really put that to practice this term. Um, which two course skills from the course learning outcomes developed the most over the course of the term, and in what way? Please share specific examples from your working class, quotes from your explorations, or main assignments to illustrate. Yeah, I think that using the apply rhetorical concept through analyzing and composing a variety of texts, that one, like the first one, was probably my strongest point, because oftentimes when I'm writing things, I'm not really putting too much like thought into it. Not that I'm not thinking about it, but I'm not putting too much thought into the way that I'm arguing. I'm usually just making an argument and just spitting it out onto a page. And while that is oftentimes very effective, it's only effective because I'm throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing how many noodles stick, rather than throwing only the stickiest noodles. And I think that by throwing the metaphorical noodles in a way that is better, by better utilizing the rhetorical concepts, I think is definitely something that has aided me throughout the class, but also will continue to aid me through the end of through the rest of my life and through everything else that I make. I was actually able to put in those concepts very formally, actually, in a work project that I have actually shared with you on Google Drive, that I think you would like. In one of them in particular, the proposal, so they're both regarding the same product, a charge and throw product that we sell at the duck store that I vehemently dislike. Um, in the proposal, I kept it very, actually, in the analysis, you'll notice I even started it with strictly from a safety standpoint, because I wrote it from the position of of the safety committee chair. Um, I really, really tried to lock into logos only, and ethos only, and kind of trying to avoid pathos, trying to avoid the like, how does this make you feel, and trying to stick strictly to the guns that I have, because as a safety committee chair and otherwise a very small fish in this pond, I really don't have the right to say, hey, I don't like this product from a moral level. I can only say, hey, here's why it's bad from a business standpoint. Here's why it's bad from, a safety standpoint, things that are directly tied to me. And so I think that I was able to be more conscious of those concepts when I was writing that piece. And then the other one that I also think that I was most improved on is the reflecting on knowledges and skills developed in this course, because when I was writing those pieces and I was taking into account the rhetorical concepts, I was actively kind of telling myself, okay, what category does this fall under? What category does this fall under? Oh, it falls under pathos. I should remove that. I should take that out. I should reanalyze it later and maybe reuse it later. And so I think that being able to kind of edit in real time in a way that is more productive and kind of helps me employ those rhetorical concepts is definitely going to be something that will help me in the future as well. What were important insights you had about this term about reading, research, writing, and/or communication in a democracy? How about more generally? Please choose at least 2 insights and share the activities, assignments, readings, conversations, etc. that were most helpful in helping you come up with this insight. I honestly don't think that I really followed that too well. Considering this is something that I have always kind of thought about, something that I commented on in my my AI piece, when I was talking about how how the making of this watch, for example, I used an artist in the example in the piece itself, but how it's a chain of steps and a chain of people that go into making every piece of this. Like even the watch band, the watch itself, every sensor is a different chain. And that is something that I just kind of think about and something that I create in my own head over time, because I spend a lot of my time thinking. And that sort of thought also kind of applies to this, where these are things I'm constantly thinking about. I'm always thinking about kind of how like I'm reading this book right now. How am I reading it? How am I researching? How am I writing? These are things that I am always theorizing about in my own head and never really have a chance to kind of put on a page. And so I think that I didn't create any new insights, at least, but I think that I definitely strengthened thoughts that I already had, and I was able to kind of effectively communicate those thoughts in, especially the AI piece and the one that we do in front of the people, the presentation one, which are kind of I think one insight is that we have become certainly more argumentative and more emotional in the way that we talk about things, and putting more of like, you should be mad, and that's a common trick because it works. It works in written media, it works in video media, it works in everything because, we're humans, we're bags of chemicals and blood, So it works by using the chemicals. And I think that it would be nice to kind of turn away from that, kind of turn away from the, chemical slop or whatever. And I would like us to be a little bit more logos and a little bit more ethos, if that makes sense. And I think that is, something that we can only achieve democratically by changing the way that we talk individually and as individuals and as people. And I think that it's really, really important for that, because I think that that's really one of the only ways that we can make that wider change is through our own individual actions. I'd say another insight is that written media has felt more and more dead every day. Finding an article for the rhetorical analysis was really hard, because I wanted to find something very specifically, something that would appeal to an audience of adults, and I don't mean like, oh, I'm not trying to find an article for kids. I'm saying people who sit down and they read and they have real change in the world. I know that I just said that one of the only ways that we can make changes through our own individual actions, but the people who have the individual actions that carry the most weight are going to be things like policymakers. And so that piece about right to repair, it was very important to me. I just kind of started searching around for things about right to repair, and that one kind of came up, and I liked it. And I honestly just thought that the name of the author was cool, and that's kind of why I picked it. But I feel like that the audience was also a big part of that, because those people have really have the power. And so kind of being able to look at the writing of someone who does that professionally. Her background is in knowledge as a concept, and that's super cool to me. But those people are going to be the most influential, not by influencing the masses, but by being influenced. And so finding a piece about that, being as hard as it was a little quite scary for me. And I would really prefer if it wasn't that way, but that's kind of the way it is. Everything that I was finding that was related to right to repair, the vast majority of it was like articles about a video, most often posted by Louis Rossmann, a giant in the right to repair community, and finding like a down-to-earth written media piece that was truly written media through and through. It wasn't about a podcast or a YouTube video. It was about, regulatory changes. That's what prompted it. The exigence of it was, like spurred by Canada, by, policy in Canada, and by the reality that we live in. It wasn't, created to get clicks about a recently viral video. And that is a insight that I kind of hate to make, but it's one that I definitely made during the course of this class. What will you take with you from the course? An idea, a practice, a question, etc. I think that I've kind of covered that one pretty well. I think that the big one is applying the rhetorical concepts. Again, doing that is definitely going to make me a more persuasive writer. I've never really been I've never really written persuasive pieces. I've always written very here's what happened, here's why it happened pieces. I was the editor-in-chief of the yearbook, and so that was strictly here's what happened. And when I was working in the Oregon Classroom Law Project in high school as well, that was also very straightforward, because you aren't allowed to mess around and play around when you're portraying a lawyer, an actual litigator, someone who doesn't have room to make mistakes, someone who doesn't have room to argue. There's a very common objection. The lawyers are not allowed to testify. That is the job of a witness. And I've always kind of struggled to testify on a page and to kind of make an argument. And I think that using the rhetorical concepts will really help me with that in the future. And I'm really enjoying the way that I have grown as a writer and as someone who writes both, for courses, but also when I think that it's needed most. Again, you can take a look at that piece on the charge and throw devices that I sent you on Google Drive. I think that it's very important. And I think that it's a good way of kind of seeing the way that I'm actively employing the techniques that we learned in the class. But thank you so much for a wonderful term. You've been a great teacher. Thank you for all of your lenience. And honestly, I hope I have you as a teacher again sometime in the future. I've really enjoyed the way that you make your assignments, and the comments that you leave on them has been just really amazing. And I've love kind of looking back on what I've made and seeing your responses to them, especially on the presenting assignment. I've just really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for a great term, and I hope to see you again in the future.